everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I am going to explain about the parts of young bone and the blood supply of an adult long bone, and this both topics are very important, usually asked for 5 marks. Now moving on to the first one, that is the parts of young bone. The parts of young bone mainly consist of 4 parts, that is the epiphysis, diaphysis, epiphyseal plate of cartilage and metaphysis. So if you see the term which is called as ossification, which means the development of bone, that is the formation of bone, and the typical long bone which ossify mainly from 3 centers, the two end from the secondary center and the intervening shaft from the primary center. Secondary center usually begins after birth and the primary center usually ossification begins before birth. So before the ossification complete, the following part of the bone can be defined. So now moving on to the first one, that is the epiphysis. So what is epiphysis? Epiphysis means the end and tip of the bone which ossify mainly from the secondary centers. So these are of different types, like 4 types. So this epiphysis is of 4 types, that is the first one is the pressure epiphysis, second one is called as traction, third one is called as atavistic epiphysis, and the fourth one is called as aberrant epiphysis. Now moving on to the first one, that is the pressure epiphysis. Pressure epiphysis means this type of epiphysis is articular and take part in the transmission of weight. Example for that is head of the humerus and lower end of the radius. Now moving on to the second one, that is called as the traction epiphysis. The traction epiphysis, if you see, these are non-articular and does not take part in the transmission of weight. It usually provides surface for the attachment of 2 or more tendons and which exert a traction on epiphysis. And this type of epiphysis example is trochanter of the femur and tubercle of the humerus. Now moving on to the third one, that is called as the atavistic epiphysis. Phylogenetically, it is an individual bone. Later it go and fuse with another bone. Example for that is coracoid process of the scapula. Now moving on to the last one, that is called as the aberrant epiphysis. Aberrant epiphysis is usually not present, only some individual you can see. Example for that is epiphysis at the head of the first metacarpal bone and the base of the other metacarpal bone. So that's all about the epiphysis. Now moving on to the second one, that is called as the diaphysis. Diaphysis means the shaft of the long bone which ossify mainly from the primary center. Now moving on to the next one, that is called as the metaphysis, which is also very important. So in the diagram you can see the epiphyseal end of the diaphysis is called as metaphysis. So this metaphysis is the zone of active site of growth. Before epiphyseal fusion, what happened means the metaphysis is richly supplied with the blood called end arteries and that forms hairpin bend. So in case of children, what happened, the bacteria or embody can easily trapped into this hairpin bend which causes infraction. So that's why in children osteomyelitis is very common. So after epiphyseal fusion, there is a vascular communication established between the epiphyseal and metaphyseal artery. Now there is no more end artery and no more cause of infraction. So that's all about the metaphysis, and moving on to the last one, that is called as the epiphyseal plate of cartilage. So in the diagram you can see this cartilage is present especially in between the epiphysis and metaphysis. The proliferation of cells in this cartilaginous plate help for the lengthwise growth of bone. After epiphyseal fusion, the bone can no longer grow in length. Now moving on to the next topic, that is about the blood supply of long bone, which is also very important. So if you see the long bone, it is mainly supplied by 4 vessels. That is the first one is called as the nutrient artery. The second one is called as the periosteal artery. The third one is called as the metaphyseal artery, and the fourth one is called as the epiphyseal artery. Now moving on to the first one, that is called as the nutrient artery. The nutrient artery, in the diagram you can see, it enters the bone through a foramen which is called as nutrient foramen. Usually this nutrient foramen is away from the growing end of long bone. So the artery enters the bone through a foramen, that is the nutrient foramen. It passes through the cortex and reaches the medullary cavity. As soon as it reaches the medullary cavity, it divides into an ascending and descending branches. Each ascending and descending branches give numeral parallel branches. It reaches the epiphysis and goes an anastomosis with the epiphyseal and metaphyseal and periosteal arteries. And this nutrient artery, it mainly supplies the marrow cavity, it supplies the metaphysis, and also it supplies the inner two-third of the cortex. Okay, so now the second one, that is called as the periosteal artery. The periosteal arteries are derived from the neighboring vessels. It is numerous beneath the tendinous attachments. Okay, and this periosteal artery, it enters the bone through a canal which is called as Waxman canal, and it mainly supplies the outer one-third of the cortex. Now moving on to the next one, that is called as the epiphyseal artery. Epiphyseal arteries are derived from periarticular vascular arcades which is present on the non-articular bony surface. Okay, now the last one, that is the metaphyseal artery. The metaphyseal arteries are derived from the neighboring systemic vessels. This metaphyseal artery enters the bone and it enters the metaphysis, and it go and reinforce the metaphyseal branches of the primary nutrient artery. So that's all about the blood supply of that arterial supply of a long bone. So this is very important, usually asked for 5 marks. Now in next topic I will be talking about the classification of bone, that usually asks for 10 marks. So that's all about today's video. So thank you so much.